All right, so you got a trip planned. You're super excited about it. It's something you've been planning for months and months. It's gonna be special. And maybe you've got an iPhone or a point and shoot of some kind, but this time you think because you want this trip to be so special and have a special place in those memory banks, you think maybe it's time to invest in a camera that can really deliver something with a little bit more oomph. So you think maybe it's time to up your game. What camera do you choose? Well guys, the options really are endless and you're going to get a lot of advice and opinions. But you're here for my opinion, and I definitely have opinions. I've done a lot of adventuring with a lot of different gear, and my personal choice right now anyway, which is, end of summer 2018, is this guy right here, the Fuji x-t20 with just one lens, the 18-55 f2.8-4 variable aperture image stabilized zoom lens. Now, of course, Fuji is not the only manufacturer who makes superb offering in a small package. But for travel, there are some specific reasons why I personally choose Fuji. And like all things, these are all going to be controversial. Others will disagree with me and choose to leave nasty comments, because for many people, photography has become religion. To you people, I say, watch less YouTube and take more photos. But for everybody else, let me explain why I love Fuji for travel photography. But to do so, I'm going to take you on a little photo adventure with me. I'll give you a sampling of what this little guy can do and why I like it so much. So strap on a helmet and let's go take some photos.
So first, let's talk about why Fuji. There are several reasons why I like Fuji as a travel or adventure platform, and the first and most obvious reason is the size and weight.
To illustrate this, I'm gonna draw on the sand here. On one hand, you've got IQ, it's image quality, right? And then you've got your continuum. And on this side, we have size. I'm just gonna put S, size and weight. I guess I could put C for convenience. The x-t20 is right here. That's why I love it. Over here we've got the GFX or something like that, where a sensor the size of my hand. Over here we have like a GoPro, tiny sensor, but super convenient. X-t20 is right here, where it's pretty good image quality, really convenient.
The second reason I love the x-t20 and the Fuji platform in general is the wonderful shooting experience. These are cameras that are as fun to look at as they are to shoot with. The buttons and dials provide a tactile experience that are nostalgic of a time when photography felt more pure and less processed. These cameras appeal to people who see their camera not just as a tool, but also as a companion.
The other thing I really like about the x-t20 is its interval timer. I'm here at Canyon Overlook looking out over Zion, and it's the middle of the day. It's not the greatest lighting in the world. On the other hand, there is a lot of cloud movement. And so that can be interesting. It can lend itself well to a time lapse where I'm not actually that interested in a photo per se. So yeah, x-t20 does a great job there as far as getting you a time lapse to remember your moment. The next reason I love Fuji is maybe a reason that's a little less obvious, and that is Fuji's sublime color science.
As As a brand with a strong legacy of superb film engineering, Fuji has put together not only a strong base color science, but also some spectacular film and color profiles for JPEG shooting that after years of shooting, I personally feel can't be rivaled.
And I know this brings up a whole can of worms, this whole discussion on JPEG versus RAW, which is, it's the stupidest argument ever. Those of us who don't mind shooting in JPEG know when and why we do it. For me personally, I love shooting in JPEG on Fuji when I'm traveling, because those photos come out spectacular straight out of camera with that filmic documentary look I know I wanted before I hit that shutter button. Look, there's nothing wrong with shooting RAW and spending a lot of time poring over every hue and saturation value if that's what you love doing. But for many people, that's not why we love photography.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bill Spencer.
All right, Bill.
Your name is
Andrew.
Branch?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
yeah.
Glad to meet you, and you're always welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Bill was nice enough to let me meander about his car cemetery. I don't know what you call this, his junkyard. I could spend all day here. Seriously, this is like my photographic heaven.
Guys, it's the act of photographing and documenting a place time that is most significant. It's far more important than what raw photo editor you use. And as far as color is concerned, I don't mind trusting that job to the hands of color scientists who spent decades perfecting a pleasing set of defaults to work from.
Fuji really has nailed it, and so many others in comparison haven't. With many other brands, it feels like their attention to JPEG color profiles are an afterthought at best or gimmicky at worst. So I realize at the end of the day that color is going to be something that is personal. It comes down to personal preference. But again, you came to me and I'm just going to give you my personal opinion. Third reason that I love shooting Fuji, third, fourth, I don't know what number we're on, but it's the lenses. If you need a system that's going to give you a good repertoire of lenses, a really mature body of lenses, definitely Fuji's right there with them. But the reason, I need my foldable hat, but I'm going to miss this shot if I don't hurry. But the reason I like Fuji lenses, as opposed to all the others, is that they're small, and Fuji's invested heavily in trying to build just sublime, top quality glass in a small package, that APS-C package, and they nailed it. The sharpness, the build quality, the color, the contrast, the ease of use. Fuji's high-end APS-C lenses are probably the most important reason why I don't ever want to switch away, no matter how many advances in camera body technology Sony makes, for instance. It's those small, spectacular Fuji lenses that keep me from selling it all and jumping ship like so many other people. This is beautiful, by the way, right here. But anyway, this lens is no different. Maybe it's considered by some to be a pro lens, but I use it for pro level stuff as well as travel, and I have no issues with it at all.
Guys, this is Fuji's kit zoom lens, and in the world of photography, the kit lens typically has serious negative connotations. It implies low quality, beginner photography, that stopgap choice you pick up until you can afford the really good lenses, quote unquote.
If you look back at the video where I first tried this lens, I wasn't even sure at that point if I wanted to keep it or not. But a year has passed, and I have to say, this lens has been on my camera body as much as any of my pro lenses have. Some of my favorite photos came with this lens, and there's several really good reasons for that, but I'll have to tell you about those tomorrow because it's after sunset, and I don't know where I'm staying tonight. I need to find some place to stay. So, talk to you tomorrow. "5:45 a.m. The way I feel inside right now, this is why I could never be a full-time landscape photographer. But this morning, I'm doing it for you guys. So let's go to Bryce Canyon." As a lazy landscape photographer, the thing I really love about Bryce Canyon is that you can just drive up and get out and walk a few hundred feet and you're there. You're at these spectacular vistas. None of this fussing about with hiking and none of that. Now last night I was talking about this lens, and I have a few things to say about it, but first I want to say that if you're new to photography, for more general use, I would strongly recommend actually sticking to a prime lens or two. Prime lenses are important for beginners. They teach you more about composition than you can ever hope to learn by zooming around with a zoom lens. But having said that, for travel, it's really hard to have the flexibility you need with a fixed focal length. There are people who are really attracted to the Fuji X100 series, for instance, that have these fixed 23mm lenses. And in all fairness, those are very attractive, very small devices. But when I travel with those guys, I felt like I was missing a lot of shots, that reach that I needed, that a zoom lens can provide to really get what I was after. So, I mean, if you're doing a lot of travel, I'd say don't give in to the draw and the romance of the X100 series before you've tried this system. When you're traveling, you just never know what sort of scene you're going to want to capture, and this lens provides you with enough flexibility to capture it.
Of course, there are wider Fuji lenses, and some will say these are better for landscape photography. But for those times, I find it works great just to stitch several shots together into a panoramic. As long as you have a tripod or steady hands, there really is no need for a super wide lens.
What I did not realize, we're about, I don't know if you can see that, probably can't. We are about halfway from where I stayed the night and where I would like to go. And I did not realize this, but apparently pavement ends. Looks like I've happened upon some sort of motorcycle event or something. Might as well get some shots while I'm here, I guess. It's not a sports action camera and lens by any, stretch of the imagination, but I mean, on the other hand, it did okay, Continuous autofocus on the x-t20 is not bad. I just love the versatility of this camera. It can do just about anything you need it to in a pinch. A lot of people will say, well, it doesn't have a wide enough aperture. You can't really get that strong bokeh. That's definitely true. It's not going to compete with the 1.4, even 1.2 of other Fuji prime lenses as far as getting that blurred out of focus background for that really nice subject separation. But on the other hand, In travel photography, you rarely need that level of separation. In fact, often you want everything to be in focus. But if you really want bokeh, the trick is to zoom out fully to that 55mm max focal length and then get as close as possible, keeping your subject in frame. This will maximize the bokeh ability of the lens and the sensor. The other thing I like about this lens is that it has image stabilization. That means that you can get sharper images at lower shutter speeds. It also makes this lens perfect for video. And when I travel, it's nice to be able to capture video also. The other thing about video and this platform, it has this little auto mode that's meant probably for beginners, which is nice if you happen to be a beginner and you don't want to fuss about with all the various dials and whatnot that are associated with shooting manually. Since I'm a vlogger, I like to be able to, if I'm shooting normally, I've got everything set up for video or for photo stills, for kind of a cinematic settings, ideal for the correct frame rate and shutter speed. But if I want to pull that camera around and start videoing myself, I don't want to have to worry about getting the exposure wrong. So, and you know what, if I'm filming myself, it's not as important that those cinematic type settings are in place. So I just flip it onto auto mode and turn it around, and I can vlog and not have to worry so much about if my exposure is just locked in just right, because I can't see the screens. So guys, those are all the reasons that I can think of right now why I like this setup. I sort of like it, if you can't tell, and I highly recommend it to you for your next vacation experience. If you enjoyed coming along with me, consider subscribing and definitely check out my other videos on my motorcycle photography adventure. In the meantime, remember, kindness before cameras. We'll talk to you again real soon.